Hello Inigame fans, the 80% discount is a pretty sweet spot for the Steam Summer Sale, where I have a whole bunch of my personal favourites to recommend, so if you have not played any of these, be sure to get them ASAP. Let's begin with Love Rousers, one that OG indie game fans will remember, since it is a game from way back in 2014, where it still holds up to this day. It is a side-scrolling aerial combat title where you hop into the cockpit of a fighter plane and have to take out targets both in the air and on water. The coolest thing about this game is that you can actually cut your jets mid-air and plummet to the ground, being able to maneuver very stylishly once you master it, resulting in one of the best feeling things that you can do in a game. An interesting top-down shooter is Running with Rifles, where you enter the battlefield as a common soldier and slowly rank up as you gain experience. This was tremendously popular at one point, peaking at something like 14,000 concurrent users, although that number averages at about 500 players these days. There is a single player campaign, but the AI isn't the greatest, but if you can find a multiplayer match, would be worth checking out. Another fan favourite is Punch Club from 2016, a management title where you're training up an amateur boxer, where his goal is to get strong enough to find out who murdered his father. The training and management systems here are impressive, where you need to manage time and money as best you can, but where there are weird fantasy elements like boxing crocodiles as well, but it has one of the most compelling gameplay loops. A gorgeous puzzle platformer is Seasons After Fall, one where you play as a fox with the ability to manipulate the seasons, where foxes in games is definitely not a new thing and probably deserves its own video down the line. As with most games based on the seasons, I do think that the way that the environments and levels transform is the most important part, which is very well done here. For example, winter freezes waterfalls and summer causes plants to grow, which then in turn allows you to progress further along. You are seeking out the 4 guardians of the seasons, since something feels off about the forest that you are in, where the art is the main highlight here. A decent beat-em-up that you might have missed is The Takeover, one with a very interesting 2.5D look that certainly evokes the old school titles like Streets of Rage and Final Fight. While the hand-drawn cutscenes are neat and there are segments which change up the gameplay, the core beat-em-up action is the highlight, but the special abilities of the characters is a sight to behold. One example of which is calling in an airstrike which blows up everything on screen, where of course this is best with a friend. I've not talked about Gunpoint in a while, so I'm talking about this now, but this was the first Steam release of developer Suspicious Developments that really put them on the map. It is a stealth puzzle game where you play as a freelance spy, having to take on various contracts and to use a variety of gadgets and tools to get things done. The one thing that I distinctly remember about this game is the ability to pounce and smash enemies through windows, where the puzzling element of this becomes very impressive in later levels.
Welcome to the Kingsway Operating System video guide. This video will show you how to use some of the most important features of this groundbreaking operating system.
If you're new to meta RPGs, I would recommend Kingsway, one that is played on a virtual desktop that sure looks like a Windows 98 style interface, where you're actually playing an RPG game with the different windows simulating your health bars, equipment, enemies, and so on, having even more meta elements which makes this very unique.
To suit your playstyle. Plan your route and manage your journey via the advanced Kingsway operating system. But be careful, enemies can pop up anytime. Defeat attacking enemies and plunder crypts and caves for the treasure you desire. So click away. Discover the amazing possibilities that is the Kingsway operating system.
This infernal place has taken me hostage. I keep coming close to death, but this world is keeping me alive.
One of the more interesting roguelite Metroidvanias out there is Sundered Eldritch Edition, a hand-drawn title that is procedurally generated levels, but fixed rooms as well, where there is ability gating which prevents you from accessing new areas. I like the look and combat in this, although the combat feedback isn't as punchy as I would have liked. It does come to us from developer Thunder Lotus Games, who are excellent, having made this, Jotun, and most recently Spiritfarer, all of which are quite unique and distinct, so at 80% off, this is a no-brainer. One of my personal favourites, which is still underrated in my opinion, is Yoku's Island Express, the self-described pinballvania title that is a must-play. You play as the newly appointed postman to Mokumana Island after the previous pterodactyl postman decided to leave due to the reawakening of a great evil, and you have to do your best as a little dung beetle, which just so happens to be attached to a boulder that you need to roll around. I love how the pinball tables are integrated into the level design, but there is a surprising amount of variety in biomes and mechanics. Add to that pleasant art and some of the best music and you have a winner, so for how unique this is, it deserves a spot on the list.
Those monsters, driven mad by music. Their twisted souls bound to the beat. And at the bottom, God only knows.
One of my all-time favourite indie games is Crypt of the Necrodancer, one that combines many of my favourite elements in games, including awesome pixel art, innovative gameplay in having to move on the beat, procedural generation for plenty of replayability, awesome music, a ton of variety and plenty of challenge, so at 80% off is a no-brainer if you have not gotten this. It is technically a turn-based, grid-based roguelike, but forcing you to move on the beat turns this into a fast-paced game where I do love the boss designs as well, being pretty much perfect, taking the #1 spot. For more Steam sale recommendations, watch these videos and I will see you after the jump.